rally and sit down. Good evening. I would like to call this Planning Commission meeting of August 13th to order. Before we begin, I would like to announce that the Commissioner already will no longer be participating in a meeting via teleconference because he's here. But I had to announce that.
We're here all night, folks.
Yeah, here all night. And on Tuesdays.
Yes.
Okay. Madam Secretary, would you give us a roll, please?
Commissioner Reyna?
Yes, present.
Commissioner Verino?
Here.
Commissioner Alderete?
Here.
Vice Chair Contreras-Leo?
Here.
Chair McLaughlin?
Here.
Commissioner Mendoza?
Here.
Commissioner Nguyen?
Here.
Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you. Would you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and Cynthia, lead us?
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
Thank you. We are now going to open up public comments for all non-agenda items. You can fill out a card in the front with the secretary if you'd like to have public comments. At this point in time, we do not have any public comments that are non-agendized. Does anybody in the audience want to have any comments? Hearing none, we'll close public comments. At this time, we'd like to go to the consent calendar. And last month we did not vote, or last meeting we did not vote on the minutes from the previous meeting. So at this point in time, we have both the minutes from last meeting as well as the minutes from the previous meeting to vote on. So can I get a motion on the...
So move.
So second?
Second.
Eric, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
7-0. With regards to absenteeism, we don't have any absentee today, so we'll move on to the business calendar. Please be advised that the action of the Planning Commission shall become effective the day following the first regularly scheduled City Council meeting after 10-day appeal period, unless if allowed by the Santa Ana Municipal Code. An appeal to the City Council is filed with the Clerk of the Council, and a copy is sent to the Planning Department within 10 days of the Commission's actions, or unless set for public hearing by the City Council. An appeal from a decision or requirement of the Planning Department or Planning Commission may be made by any interested party, individual, or group. At this time, we will consider item number 1, conditional use permit number 2018-14 to allow an existing 60-foot tall wireless communication facility located at 1403 North Tustin Avenue. Ivan.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about the tower.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Commission. As you stated, before you is an application for a renewal to an existing wireless facility for Crown Castle located at 1403 North Tustin Avenue. As you mentioned, it is an existing facility, 60 foot, and the application before you this evening is to renew the entitlement, which would allow an additional 10 years. As far as the project, also the scope includes additional measures to conceal the RRU, which is a piece of equipment found on the facility there. The current zoning to the site is professional, as well as the general plan designation as general professional administrative office. So those two are consistent there, and it's surrounded currently by office and retail uses in close proximity to the 55 freeway and 17th Street to the south of that. I've included a site plan, kind of broken down into two, a more detailed and an overall site plan. In the larger image, you can see the location is outlined in the red, and then to the right is the enlarged enclosure plan where you can see all the equipment and the monopole facility. This is a more recent site photo. As you can see, the enclosure is already covered in vines as originally required by the previous CUP. The facility is wrapped with shrubs, vines, and additional trees, just like we all recommend for any wireless facility, major wireless facility. And a little bit about the project itself. As stated, it does require a CUP to renew the entitlement for another 10 years. It meets all the standards of the municipal code currently, and as part of the project, the applicant will be replacing the existing weathered branches with new branches, which will help conceal any voids in the monopole and therefore make it look like a new facility. And with that, staff recommends approval of conditional use permit number 2018-14 as conditioned.
Thank you, Ivan. Does the commission have any questions of staff?
You had mentioned, I'm sorry, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. You had mentioned an additional 10 years.
Yes.
You know, as technology continues to grow and to morph, I'm sure this is going to be at a date in 3 years. As we move forward, do we have anything in place to replace this, to get rid of this? Are they going to look at putting something bigger or smaller?
So our code allows for major and minor wireless facilities. Part of the entitlement process is to allow the major facilities such as this for 10 years. But in between those, we understand that technology changes. So we have a way of kind of monitoring that or approving modifications through a land use certificate. So we'll see all those as they come in. They can't just go out and change it. We require by code to come in and we can take a look. If there's increase in batteries, then we refer them to additional agencies that take a look at those to make sure everything's safely done.
Okay, thank you.
Any- Ken?
I have similar question. Why we change from every 5 years to 10 years? Even though it's just a major and minor improvement, but I echo Commissioner Arena. Technology do change, rapidly, and I think that 5 year term I think should be enforced, should be continue.
Yeah, and one of those measures is to identify technology or changes in technology. I assume that we're not experts in all that is wireless, and changes are coming in, and we are doing and reviewing all these applications to make sure that everyone is getting the right amount of service. But with major changes to the facility, we always want to take a look at it and see if those changes are actually impactful to the community or not. And one of the measures, as I mentioned, is through the land use certificate. And if there are major changes where a 60-foot monopole will no longer be needed at this location, then I'm sure that we'll see some applications to remove the site.
Thank you.
Beatrice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see that the needle branches on the existing tower, they must be replaced within 180 days. Is that a standard rule? 180 days?
We required that of the previous monopine, or the previous application that was seen to renew it. 180 days is similar to what a building permit would allow, the length of that. So we took that as effect to understand that it takes longer than a certain amount of time, but within the amount of time that a building permit would be active.
Okay, and the other concern I have, it's not a concern, but with all these changes in the weather, fires, and it says that any damage to the existing structures, walls, or the branches, they must be repaired. Do we have like a timeline of how soon they have to be repaired, or there's nothing in the books?
I don't think we specify the amount of time needed. It's on a case by case. If it's something that requires active and immediate response, then I'm sure our building inspectors will notify staff of that. We see that similar in other cases where it might be uninhabitable building, and therefore we can no longer go into it and we have to react accordingly. So for that, it's a general condition to understand that any of the enclosures or any of the plants that are currently there required by code be replaced or repaired.
Thank you.
I guess we're done, Ivan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Would the applicant at this time like to say something?
Good afternoon. My name is John Rodriguez. I'm here representing the applicant, and I'm here to support staff's recommendation for approval and answer any questions you folks might have.
Any questions of the applicant? We're good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication on this?
We received one comment in support, and that was distributed to the commission.
Thank you. Okay. We will now open the meeting to a public hearing. Does anybody in the public like to address this item at this point in time? I have one card, but it's you, Jonathan, so we've already taken care of that. Anybody else want to speak at this point in time at the public comment? Hearing none, we'll close public comments and bring it back to the commission. Would anyone- Go ahead.
I would like to move that we adopt resolution approving conditional use permit 2018-14 as conditioned.
Second.
Second, okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. Thank you. This is a time and place to consider item number 2, conditional use permit number 2018-15, to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption at a restaurant, Wingstop, located at 701 South Harbor Boulevard, Unit C. Before I forget, does anybody want to make a comment about any communications with this item? None? Okay. Let's go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you, we have conditional use permit 2018-15. The subject site is 701 South Harbor Boulevard, Unit C. The applicant is Wingstop, and they're proposing to allow on-premise consumption alcohol, beer, and wine. Type ABC license type 41. So as mentioned, this is a proposed conditional use permit to allow on-premise consumption of alcohol beverages, and this includes beer and wine. The hours of operation are Monday through Sunday, 10:30 a.m. to 12 a.m. No after hours are proposed. In addition to the conditional use permit, the applicant is currently in building plan check for interior remodel or interior improvements. The subject site is located within the Harbor Mixed Use Transit Corridor Specific Plan, SP, also known as SP2, has a general plan designation of District Center, DC, and it's currently surrounded by various commercial and residential land uses. So to the north, we have an eating establishment. To the east of the property, we have a big box retail, Walmart. To the south, we have single-family residence, and to the west, we have a gas station. So this is a site plan of the subject site. It is off of Harbor and McFadden, and the arrow is pointed at the subject site. So this here's the floor plan, and as you can see in yellow is the proposed alcohol storage area. So the alcohol will be stored in a walk-in cooler in the back of the restaurant and under the countertops in a small fridge. This is the current site photo. As previously mentioned, they're currently in the process of receiving building permits for all the interior remodel for the restaurant. So they are not opened. Nothing is proposed on the exterior of the building. So the restaurant is allowed by right pursuant to the SP2. The alcohol beverages do require a conditional use permit. We're here for a conditional use permit. No after hours are proposed. The restaurant will provide a service to the community and residents of the visitors of the city of Santa Ana. The alcohol license will also encourage new opportunities for the business to grow and private development as well. These standards will ensure that the restaurant will not deviate from the planned operations reviewed under this application and will not become an attractive nuisance to the surrounding businesses and residents. So as proposed, staff recommends approval of conditional use permit number 2018-15.
Thank you, Esco.
Thank you.
Does the commission have any questions of staff?
Got a quick question.
Roman?
Do we know if any other adjacent properties are also selling alcohol?
Yes, we do. Right to the north of the property, we have a mom and pop restaurant that also sells alcohol.
I'm just curious, do you know the name of that restaurant?
I do not know, but it's adjacent to the to Chipotle.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Any other questions? We're good.
Thank you.
Okay. Would the applicant at this time like to speak?
Hi, my name is Cheryl Brady. I represent Far West Restaurant Group, LLC. As you're aware, we're requesting the sale and on-site consumption of beer and wine at 701 South Harbor Boulevard, Suite C. It used to be a Payless shoe store, was the location. The tenant space is roughly a little over 2,600 square feet, and it will seat approximately 72 seats. There will be no outdoor patio. The anticipated opening date is October of 2018. The estimated roughly no more than 2% of the sales will be in the alcohol. Basically, the reason for the alcohol is to catch those people in which they do come to Wingstop and they actually do want a beer, and if there isn't a beer available, they actually leave the place. We support staff's recommendation. Staff was very helpful, and if you have any questions, I'll be available to answer them.
Any questions of the applicant? Beatrice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the conditions, section 2, might be also for a staff person as well, but it says that no new expansion of the existing building is proposed. However, in the economic impacts, it says that the improvement project is valued at $325,000. Are any improvements added into that, or how did the staff come up with that number?
It was part of the valuation. You'd have to ask staff, but I would assume when the architects submitted the plans for plan check, that's where they got the valuation. There is no additional space being proposed. It's what the space is currently. There's no additional square footage.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Ken?
You mentioned could your customer walk into the restaurant and ask, do you serve alcohol? They said no, they leave. Most of the principle of ABC of alcohol license is like should be very small percentage. The main
Very, very small, less than 2% is how much alcohol is sold. Less than 2%. People come there for the food; they're not coming there for the alcohol.
That's what
It's the father that's there with the family, and he wants one beer with his wings.
What kind of food are you offering at your Wingstop?
Chicken wings.
I'm sorry?
Chicken wings.
Chicken wing? I see. Chicken wing. Okay, great. Thank you.
Just a curiosity, I mean, Wingstop is like a chain, correct?
A franchisee. He has, I don't have the exact location, but he has another location in Santa Ana. He also has 42 locations in the Southern California area, and he also has locations in Nevada.
Now, do they all, since it's a franchise, do they all sell alcohol, or is it by unit?
Well, it's based on the franchisee. I would say a good 90% of them sell alcohol.
90?
Are they?
Okay, that's fair. Thank you. I guess we have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Madam Secretary, we received any written communication on this item?
We have not.
Okay, we'll now open up for a public hearing. If anyone would like to make say something, you've got 3 minutes. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. We'll bring it back to the commission. Cynthia?
In reading this, it says that it's not located within immediate proximity to parks, playgrounds, schools, or religious institutions. So I'm going to name the following schools: Thornton, Greenville, Segerstrom, and across the street near Calvary. Calvary is also a church. Also on the corner of Greenville and MacArthur is Jehovah's Witness Church, and about a mile is Christ Our Savior. So all the schools I mentioned are underneath a mile, not even half a mile away. Kids.
It's on McFadden and Harbor in the Walmart shopping center.
Yeah.
Not anywhere near South End.
Okay.
Is
I
that
thought in
the,
my stuff in this, the email that was sent to MacArthur.
Is that a close to corner
There's
of
no
Harbor
entrance
and
to Jackson.
Fadden? Is
Jackson.
that a Walmart Center?
And, something like that.
Yeah, it's the Walmart Center.
Okay, sorry, my mistake. I thought I saw MacArthur. Guess I'm just protecting my community right away.
Are we good?
We're good.
Okay. All right.
There's no, aside from Jackson,
Yeah.
is there others? I don't think, is it just Jackson?
Yeah, that might be the closest one.
Okay. Do we have a motion on this item? Beatrice?
I'd like to make a motion to approve conditional use permit, number 2018-15 to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption at Wingstop located at 701 South Harbor Boulevard.
I'm
Do we have a
second.
second? Ken,
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7-0. This is time and place to consider item number 3, tentative track map number 2018-03 and variance number 2018-08 to subdivide an existing property into 5 parcels to allow the construction of 5 single-family residences located at 1102 North King Street. Does any commissioners have anything to disclose on this item? No? Okay, Ivan, you're back.
I am. Thank you, Chairman. Members of the Commission, before you this evening, as stated by the Chairman, is an application for a tentative map and 2 variances in order to subdivide an existing approximately 1 acre lot into 5 individual single-family residential lots and a private street located on 1102 North King. As I mentioned, it is for 5 single-family lots to construct and develop 5 individual single-family homes. The application requires approval of a tentative tract map and 2 variances. The variances are listed as front and rear yard setbacks, and I've indicated the lots on which these variances are required. This is a location. As you can see, it's an odd-shaped parcel on King Street, but also has some frontage along Fairview, just north of Civic Center there. And it is currently zoned R1, single family, and is consistent with the general plan designation of low-density residential, and is also surrounded by primarily single-family uses. This is a current site photo of the parcel and in the state that it's currently in. Previously had a structure that was recently demolished that was uninhabitable and therefore a danger. This is a tract map showing the 5 separate lots and also showing the building footprint of the proposed single-family homes. This also includes the street, the private street, which will be Lot A. In terms of this development, it will be a private street, but it will also allow access to all 5 of the parcels there and provide street frontage as well to meet all the single-family residential development standards.
So when you say private, are you talking about a gated community?
No, not gated. It will still have the same physical characteristics of a common street. It's not meant to be gated at all. It just it allows them to have common interests in the street, therefore creating an HOA and the CCNRs, which are part of the conditions of approval. I've included essentially two floor plans to indicate the locations of where these variances are being requested. For Lot 1, we do have a front and a rear yard setback. As you can see in the garage to the left, there's an outline that kind of goes over the footprint of the garage, and essentially that's the front and rear yard setback. They measured it at 20 feet from the property line, and it's encroaching in, as you can see, a couple of feet in the front and about a foot and some change in the back. I did want to mention that this variance to request the front and rear yard setback is not for any part of the home in this case. As far as Lot 3, we are looking at a rear yard setback, and that's only a few inches, and I will go over the findings for that and why we made the recommendation to include that as part of the application tonight. As you can see, it's a pretty distinct layout on the floor plan. Everything's laid out a certain way where it's almost stretched out, and you'll see it on the site plan that shows the odd-shaped lot that's being created at the end of the cul-de-sac. I've included a couple of the most of the elevations there to show exactly that we are looking at different styles, different materials, and different colors and materials to create a different and non-cookie cutter sort of development so that it fits in well with the characteristics of the single-family homes, each one having a different style, a different layout. And as mentioned, through the review process and the analysis of the project, the proposed development is consistent with the character and the scale of the neighborhood, being primarily single family. The project is also consistent with our general plan. It'll provide additional housing opportunities in the area, and it will also allow the development of a uniquely odd-shaped lot. The variances will allow for maximum use of the property, but will meet the additional development standards that we have in place for single-family homes. And as conditioned, the project will help enhance the quality of life in the surrounding community, setting a precedent for any other residential projects that fit this kind of description or in similar circumstances. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission approve tentative tract map 2018-3 and variance number 2018-8 as conditioned. I am here to answer any questions,
Thank you, Ivan.
and that concludes my presentation.
Does the commission have any
Ivan, can you go back to the drawing that had all five lots?
The tract map?
There you go. And we're looking at a variance for 1 and 3?
Yes, so it'll be the one on the top, right where, what is it, 12? Yeah. And the one at the end of the cul-de-sac, which will be in the middle, lot 3.
Sure. I drive that area frequently, and I'm not sure if Val was aware, or there's a lot of accidents along that back wall. Yeah. And I mean, every other week they're rebuilding it, and we're gonna. I'm sorry, on lot 3 we want to give a variance of how much?
It's only a few inches, and I can go over the reasoning for that and why staff was considering the request of the applicant.
Would we be asking them to put in any additional reinforcements for safety precautions?
As part of the application, we are requiring that they provide a full, I believe, 6-foot block wall on all the perimeter. There's also one thing that I did want to mention as part of the application for the variance is that the property owner is giving away or dedicating 5 feet along Fairview for the expansion. Eventually will happen, but we are considering that now. So those 5 feet will push back the property even more, and therefore that's why it's kind of encroaching, at least the home is encroaching into the rear yard setback a few inches. They are providing a full height wall, and as conditioned in the last condition of approval, they are also required to provide landscaping and a way to maintain that so that as you drive north on Fairview, you'll see a full kind of tier landscaping along that wall. So it not only will help reinforce with the new CMU wall, but also look aesthetically as best as we can.
As you go forward, you had mentioned that they have different styles in the layout, so it's not cookie cutters. Can you tell me the smallest unit, how big the smallest unit is and how big the largest unit is?
So one of the things I really want to highlight is the fact that although this 1-acre parcel through a general plan designation of low residential, they could have developed more than 5 units, but the private street is taking up almost 14,000 square feet of that 1 acre in order to provide access to each one of the lots and provide more of a character, a continuation of character in the homes and the neighborhood. And so most of these lots are exceeding the minimum 6,000 square feet. The one that exceeds the most is almost 700 square feet larger than the minimum 6,000. And so they are providing a good sized home, but at the same time meeting all the minimum standards.
All right, thank you very much, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
No more questions.
Ivan, so what were you saying about the dedication? Oops, sorry.
Okay.
About the dedication, if they didn't have to dedicate that area for Fairview, would that lot 3 have met the setback?
Yes.
Okay. And then second question is, this property came before us. I recall this on another housing proposal. Is that correct?
It actually came before in, I want to say, and I have it here in the in 2001, but it wasn't for housing. It was for the church. In the staff report, I stated that there was a structure there, and the church wanted to enlarge the use of the property and construct additional buildings and bring in a daycare. And Planning Commission denied it at the point. I reviewed the CUP file, but nothing was there as There was a reason why, but it wasn't because they didn't want the use. It was something else along the lines of enlarging a use that would otherwise provide other residential uses, or they preferred something else at the time. But it wasn't something that was stated, for that. But no residential development. It was just the continuation of the church.
This is going to fit the other zoning because it's all residential in that area.
Right, and church use would be a permitted use in the R1, but I think the planning commission at the time might have looked at an alternative use for the property instead.
Thank you.
Anybody? Beatrice? Eric?
Thank you. Commissioner Reyes mentioned that there were car accidents along, I'm assuming that's Fairview, right?
Yes.
So I'm looking at a map of it, like just a Google aerial. Is it that it's a sharp turn that's creating the problem, and is there any barrier there? Or?
There's no barrier there, but I mean, I would say you go past there about once every 3 months, and there's a hole punched somewheres in that first 50 feet. I think people don't realize that the road turns.
Right here, this gets hit all the time.
Yeah.
There's holes all the way through.
Yeah, so they clip it.
Yeah.
They clip it.
Is there a sidewalk there?
Yeah,
there is.
there is.
Yeah, it's narrow though, right?
It's a narrow
Yeah.
sidewalk, yes.
They go too fast. They go too fast.
Sounds like the city's on notice. All right.
I mean, if there was like a barrier, like a steel barrier against the wall or out from the curb, that probably would.
But then how much do you encroach on the sidewalk?
Yeah.
Okay, that's, yeah, thanks. The other thing I wanted to ask about is, so what are the size of the surrounding homes, the square footage, the lot size relative to what these lots are going to be?
So the majority of the homes are around the 6,000 square foot lot size, as you can see from the image here. This was taken from our GovClarity, which is our GIS program that we use. And although something to consider is King Street and the way that it's positioned, it almost creates like odd-shaped lots on every one of those streets that it's adjacent to. And so even the homes to the north, just by visually looking at it, I'm going to assume that those are anywhere between 4,000 and 4,500 square feet, which don't meet the minimum requirements today. But these lots were designed to at least meet the minimum, considering that the lot was already odd-shaped, and that by adding the private street was also creating the possibility of extremely odd-shaped lots. Yes?
You said 4,000 to 4,500 square feet is the lot or the house?
No, I was in reference to the properties just to the north. As you can see, those are in a diagonal sort of shape and design, creating odd shapes. And so the majority of these homes are anywhere between the 4,500 to the minimum 6,000 square feet, depending on where they're located.
North or south of that?
So you, just to clarify, you're asking where the arrow is in the site?
Where the arrow is, that area up above.
Yeah.
And you're talking about 4,000, 4,500.
Yeah, so the commissioner asked as...
To the right is...
Oh, those are 6,000 square feet. Yeah. Yeah, it's just the location of the homes or the properties that are adjacent to King that creates this sort of unique circumstances for those parcels.
Right, okay. All right, thanks for that.
Any other questions of staff? Beatrice?
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. I know you mentioned the landscaping. It says that it'll have sufficient parking and open space. I didn't see much open space. What are you referring to when you say open space here?
We have to consider not only landscaping, but also certain amenities. For example, in these homes, the applicant is proposing to do a patio structure in the rear yards. And some of those are considered open space in the sense that they're common to whoever wants to use them. They're not in the side yard where it's not usable open space. And so the one thing to consider is that these patio covers are actually architecturally integrated into the design of the home. And those are some of the findings that we've made to guarantee that the architecture is upgraded from what we normally see.
Lynette?
Another question. Ivan, maybe I'm missing it from the rendering, but how many street lights are in the cul-de-sac?
I don't have that information. That'll be determined on Public Works' review of the final map.
The reason I'm concerned about number one, it's a private street, but number one, that area has a lot of streets in the neighborhood that are really dark.
Mhm.
And I think a few years back, a child was killed on Washington, and King, close near there. So if there's anything we can do to keep that street lit, particularly at night.
So the current standards will kick in for Public Works' requirement of street lighting and making sure that it's sufficiently lit on the streets to meet the minimum requirements of today. So I don't have that information. It's more of a Public Works requirement, but I assume that they will apply the current standards. And
they would have to abide by that, by the Public Works requirements.
yeah, so Public Works is also an agency that takes a look at the final map.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of Ivan at this time? Thanks, Ivan.
Thank you.
Would the applicant at this point in time like to speak? Are you the applicant, ma'am?
I'm sorry, my name is Irma, and it's concerning about the houses.
Ma'am, I need to ask you, are you the applicant? Are you the applicant?
I am not an applicant. I just live on King Street.
I understand that, but it's not public comments at this point in time. It's open now for comment with the applicant.
So we're not allowed to
You are
say.
allowed to speak during public comments. Not at this moment. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Chairman and Commissioners, my name is David Nguyen. I'm the project manager for the developer. First of all, thank you for the Planning Commission and Public Works for helping us for the past 2 years working on this project. There's a few items that I'd like to bring up, although Planning Commission touched most of the important point already. Again, I'm David Nguyen. The company I'm working for, Heritage Homes. Heritage Home is a local infill developer working in mostly in Orange County since 2012. To date, we built about 100 homes from most of the cities around here: Orange, Garden Grove, Westminster, Fountain Valley, Huntington Beach, Cypress, and so forth. The current property, as shown on the map, it used to have a structure there which had been torn down, and currently it's a vacant land for the past year and a half. And it's being used mostly by, we're not sure who, but they keep, every 2 or 3 months, we've been calling out by code enforcement or police because either people dump a lot of trash there that we need to remove every 2 or 3 months, or a lot of homeless and drug users set up camp there to stay all the time. So police have been called quite a few times there. So we hope that, we believe that the project that we're building will enhance the current state of the neighborhood. It improves the value, and most importantly, it creates some sense of security for the neighbors. And we, working with planning and public work, we believe that we met most of the codes. The only 2 variances that we're asking for are the 1 foot or a few inches in the setback of the garage or the patio, because we did a 5-foot dedication, which caused part of these variances. And we'll be building a brand new block wall around the entire perimeter of the neighborhood, of the new development. So we ask for your support, because right now we'll be converting from vacant land, attracting a lot of unwanted either trash or drug user. We're going to be changing into 5 new beautiful homes, and I think we ask for your support. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the
Any questions?
No?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I still ask the staff this question? How long has this lot been vacant? Do we know?
A long time.
Is it a long time?
So the structure was, there was a permit to demo that over a year ago, but to my knowledge, that structure wasn't occupied by anything for several years or any use. It was just sitting there. And so as part of the review process, we were going to require to do that. The applicant just decided to do it before the hearing, making sure that no one occupied it or created additional issues on site.
All right, Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication on this item?
We have not.
Okay. We are now open for public hearing. If you would like to comment at this point in time, please come up and do so. If you haven't filled out a card, would you fill out a card afterwards? And we can do that. You can speak. Could you state your name and where you live?
My name is Irma, and I do live on King Street.
Okay.
I live on King Street since 1980. The property in there, it was only one single family home, and before it was asked if they can do a church. But the community disagree because we've been bombarded with a lot of parking, and the structure in there, and as she mentioned, it's about 3-4 years ago that somebody was killed, a young boy, 5 years old, was killed on the 4th of July because of, but the property, they don't have anybody like homeless people or anything. Yes, it's been demolished about a year and a half, but my request is that we can keep a single family in there because we are so bombarded with a lot of traffic. Also on Fairview and King, they put in there a blockage because a lot of people will come very fast and it will go down King and provoke some accidents. But our community, we can get together, and I mean, it's just too much for us right now.
Okay.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Is there anyone else at this point in time that would like to make a public comment on this item? Hearing none, we'll close the public comments and we'll bring it back to the commission. Does anyone like to make a motion at this time with regards to this item number 3?
The motion to recommend the City Council to adopt a resolution to approve tentative map number 2018-3 at condition, adopt a resolution approving variant number 2018-08 at condition to allow reduction in front yard and setback, and adopt a resolution to approve variant number 2017-08B as condition to allow reduction in rear yard setback.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Eric, second. Any discussion on the item? Lynette?
I just want to say I'm very familiar with the area, and I do. There is definitely a parking issue in that neighborhood. The houses are quite big at 5 and 4 bedrooms, but I don't think that the variances are going to cause what we're approving today. The variances is going to make a difference in the parking situation. So. We have a great need in this community for housing, and this is going to be a nice addition to the neighborhood because the houses are beautiful, and what we're looking at, what they look at today is a big empty dirt lot. So I'm going to support the motion, but I do also have concerns that this project will bring more vehicles to the area.
Sure. I agree with that, and I think that I believe that, correct me if I'm wrong, Ivan, there is parking on the individual lots for 4 cars.
Yes.
That's correct.
So you have 4 cars that can park on the 2-car garage and 2 in the driveway. And then there's additional parking, not a lot, but there may be additional parking in that little cul-de-sac.
So that's one of the things we'll look at, but that is one of the things we'll look at with the final map. with Public Works in conjunction with them, but I did want to kind of illustrate that these driveways, for example, Lot 1, 5, 4, and 3 allow for the minimum, but to take into consideration maybe Lot 2 that allows for additional vehicles. So that might be an incentive for that property to be sold. But we do look at street minimums, even though it's private. It has to meet a certain service diameter for trash pickup and street sweeping, that sort of thing. So with that said, we do consider the pockets between the driveways and to be able to see if one or two vehicles have sufficient space to park on the streets. So even though these lots are single families, they are meeting the minimum requirement of 4.
Right.
We
understand. I mean, there's no variances.
No, not for that.
Parking, the only variance is for setbacks.
Right.
Correct. Okay.
So we do consider that.
Any other questions, comments? We'll take it to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's 7-0. Thank you. This is time to move on to item number 4, the election of officers for the 2018-2019 term. We'll take up the selection for chairperson for 2018 term. It's now open to the floor for nominations. Beatrice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to nominate Chairman McLaughlin to continue being the chairperson for the next term.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Second from Cynthia. Do you have any other nominees? Having none, all those in favor of Commissioner McLaughlin for chair, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, 7-0. Thank you. For vice chair, we will take up the nomination and selection for 2018-2019 term. It's open for nominations on the floor. Lynette.
Chairman McLaughlin, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Cynthia Contreras-Leo for Vice Chair to continue for the next year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Eric. Any other nominations? Hearing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
7-0. Thank you. And the last item is the Historic Resource Commission. Do we have any nominations for the Historic Resource Commission? Go ahead.
Ken, did you like that, or are you done with it?
He's definitely not going. He's out.
Okay.
He's out.
Just
He'd
wanted
be
to
out
be sure
of
if
the
you
room
enjoyed
right
it.
now on this vote if it weren't for you.
If I could remind the commission that the HRC meets quarterly, so 4 times a year, maybe 5 special meetings at 4:30 in the afternoon. So.
Would anybody like to entertain that at this time?
If no one does it, I'll.
Commissioner Rena, would you consider to accept that nomination?
I would love to. Unfortunately, I don't get out of work till about 5 o'clock.
Need it early, yeah.
Commissioner Contreras-Leo, what are you saying?
If nobody else will do it, I'll nominate myself.
We'll nominate you. The nomination's not the problem.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Contreras-Leo for the Historic Resources Commission because I know she will do a fantastic job.
It's karma, I vote.
I second
Yes.
Mr.
I'm second. I'm second.
Ken seconded.
Yeah.
Actually, the Historical Resource Commission is a very educational commission to be in.
Yeah, okay.
It's full of energetic and passionate members.
Ken, the sale has been made. The sale has been made. I'll say that there's no other nominations at this point in time. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Unanimous. All right. Okay, thank you. And let's move on to our work study. And the work study, this item, we have one item on the work study calendar, the Rocket Express Car Wash proposed revision, 1703 East 17th Street Alley.
Thank you, Chairman McLaughlin. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Up for discussion tonight is a work study session for the Rocket Express car wash. This site is located at the northeast corner of 17th and Maybury Streets. It's currently occupied by a vacant commercial building and is zoned in the arterial commercial zoning district and is surrounded by mostly commercial uses but some residential uses to the neighborhood to the north. Just for some background on this project, it was submitted back in September 2015. Basically, the application was for an automated car wash, those drive-through tunnel types, and vacuum stalls. There were about 18 vacuum stalls and 2 parking spots for employees. At that time, the project proposed 2 driveways. Customers would enter from 17th Street and finish washing their vehicles and then exit onto Maybury. The design also had 2 escape driveways, which are just in case a customer decides they're not going to go through with it or cut halfway through, they could get onto the alley. So after a development review process, the project came for public hearing in October 2017, and it required a conditional use permit for the car wash land use, as well as a variance because one of the driveways was within 150 feet of the nearest intersection. During the hearing, the community that attended mostly spoke in opposition, and after considering the facts and the public testimony, the commission voted to deny the project. The applicant shortly thereafter submitted an appeal application to appeal the Planning Commission's decision to City Council, but shortly thereafter voluntarily put his application on hold to discuss certain matters internally and then reapproach the city in the spring of this year to discuss potential revisions to the project. After we got a preview of those revisions as staff, we determined that they were substantive enough that if they were to move forward, would require reviewing the project again through the city's development review process. And because of their substantive nature, we could bring them back if the applicant elected to do so for a new public hearing with those revisions for the Planning Commission to consider the revised project. So we're here tonight with some of those revisions to preview them for the Commission as a study session and obtain either feedback or a temperature read on the revisions so that the applicant can decide how to proceed. So what are those revisions? The first is that they've eliminated the driveway that would have come onto Maybury Street. So with the new configuration, the project's sole entrance and exit is from a driveway on 17th Street that can accommodate about a dozen vehicles stacking up to enter the car wash. In addition, as I was discussing before, there were those 2 escape driveways on the alley. They've now reduced it to 1. So in the event that a customer pays for the car wash, but then something happens and they decide they don't want to go through the tunnel, they can proceed onto the alley and leave the site. The next revision was an increase in the number of vacuum spaces from the previous 18 to now 22 stalls, as well as an increase in the on-site parking spaces from 2 to 3 stalls. And that was one of the comments that was raised during the public hearing in October. Finally, the applicant has proposed to completely fund the installation of a new traffic light at 17th and Maybury Streets. Previously, they were willing to do so, but with a reimbursement expectation from the city, and now they are willing to completely fund it without a reimbursement expectation from the city. So they would cover the full cost, which I believe they've estimated to be close to $500,000, if I recall correctly. So this is the previous site plan. This is what the Planning Commission considered in October of last year. It's a little bit busy with details, but as I was describing, it had the entrance from 17th Street, which I'm circling with the cursor right now, and then the escape driveway onto the alley. Customers would then wrap around and enter the car wash tunnel, finish the car wash, enter the vacuum bays, finish vacuuming, and then exit onto Maybury Street, from which point they could turn right and go north or left and go south towards 17th Street. There was also another little escape driveway here onto this alley. And then these are the multiple family residences, the apartments to the north. And this is what the project was going to look like. And then this is the proposed site plan. And this is what the applicant has worked to develop in the past couple of months and what they've previewed with staff. The basic configuration now is entering from 17th Street, stacking up and paying for the wash, and proceeding with the same escape driveway, or entering the car wash tunnel, and then entering the parking lot where there would be 3 employee parking spaces, 22 vacuum bays, and then once finished, the customers would do a little 3-point turn and come back out onto 17th. And then this intersection with Maybury and 17th would have the new traffic signal installed. So we reviewed the site plan and the traffic study, a very high level, because just to remind the commission, full application has not yet been submitted by the applicant. What staff has received is this site plan and the traffic study that was updated to reflect this new configuration. So the site plan, what we found, clearly because of the lack of driveway on Maybury, reduces the impacts to that street because all the traffic now is being directed in and out of 17th Street. However, it does pose a situation with that dead end situation in the vacuum parking area that we would need to evaluate further and see if that's something we could support. The applicant did also update the traffic study to show that in general, the level of service, which is like a measurement tool for traffic engineers for intersections, would improve at Maybury and 17th and nearby intersections due to the installation of that traffic signal, and nothing would result in a reduced level of service to like levels E or F. Everything would pretty much be at level A, B, or C according to the traffic study. These site plan and updated traffic studies, they were reviewed by planning and the Public Works Agency, but again, the review was done at this 30,000 foot level in anticipation of this work study session where the applicant could get your feedback for the project. And then finally, we have yet to review any updated architecture or landscaping because once again, only the site plan and traffic study have been updated. So next steps, where can the applicant go from here? They can receive the commission's feedback tonight and elect to proceed with developing a full set of plans for consideration through the city's development review process, after which we could bring it back to the Planning Commission for a new public hearing. Secondly, the applicant may, after tonight, elect to proceed with their pending appeal application and go to City Council. However, based on the denial from the Planning Commission in October, staff would then recommend denial of that application to the City Council. And then thirdly, the applicant may receive feedback and elect to completely withdraw the project and cancel the plans. So that's the information I can share today from a process and sort of zoning standpoint, planning and zoning standpoint. The applicant has also prepared their own PowerPoint that they'd like to show tonight, after which the commission may share any feedback or first impressions with the applicant.
Does the commission have any questions of Ally? Beatrice?
What would be the operating hours?
The applicant can go through that right now. They haven't specified any revised hours.
Robin?
Can you go back to the drawing of the single exit now on
Sure.
17th? Are they only able to make a right-hand turn exiting?
From 17th Street?
Coming out of the facility, coming down to 17th Street, are they able to make rights and lefts, or only limited to one?
So realistically, they could only make a right turn. I do believe there's a center turn lane on 17th Street in that stretch, so hypothetically, they could make a left turn.
Yeah, hypothetically. All right, that's the only concern I have. But
Thank
I
you.
do have a concern with that because it will create a bottleneck and more challenges.
Thank you. And those are items that we would more fully vet if the applicant resubmitted formally to the city for review.
So far, that's the only concern I have right now myself. Eric? Thank you.
Thanks. I'm trying. I look at the size. 20. I think it's 18 bays now. How does that compare to, if you know, off the one on 17th and Baker, and then there's another one on First, and I'm not over by Original Mike's ish.
Yeah.
Orange.
Yeah, I think it's
Sure. Do you have any knowledge of the First Street one?
Now.
Thank you. The applicant has that information.
Okay, perfect.
I don't recall from the top of my head.
And the only reason why I ask is if I'm trying to visualize kind of the activity on here, I know those facilities, I'm familiar with them, so it gives me a comparison.
Okay, great.
Any other questions of staff? Ally, thanks. Yeah, go ahead. Cynthia, go.
Since the last time, would there have been any time in this process of relooking at the site to go back to the community and present again? Because I know that there was a big showing last time that were opposed. So has there been any feedback, or will there be any feedback to the new setup?
Thank you. The applicant, from my understanding, has not yet engaged with the neighborhood that spoke last time. The applicant has contacted and been in communication with myself and Scott Kuttner, and has the neighborhood's contact information. I think process-wise, they're electing to come here first and then engage with the community. But then they can add additional details before you.
Okay, Ally, thank you.
Thank you.
Would the applicant like to, at this point in time, say something?
Thank you very much. Nice to see you guys again. Chris McKenna, McKenna Assets LLC. We're the applicant for the project, and I've met some of you before. Thanks to, Ollie's been pretty great with this. The last planning director was helpful also, but Ollie's really stepped up to the plate to try and see if there's a way forward to do this, so I just wanted to thank him on that. In reference to your question as far as the neighborhood, Commissioner, I've talked to the apartment lady in the back. She was kind of like, no, we're still not going for it, blah, blah, blah. When I told her that, look, we're going to stop any of the traffic off the back, and she's like, what? And I said, yeah, so we're going to eliminate any of the traffic coming on Marbury, and there won't be any bailouts except for the super emergency bailout, and that would be like probably 1 in 5,000 cars might use that, like if their credit card got stuck or something, they just couldn't get through, and we just have to have that as a safety issue to allow somebody to get out just in case. But everyone else will circulate in and out of 17th. The other people that we talked to was the Fantastic Cafe, and they've sort of changed their tune quite a bit as well, so they're more in support of it. I have been talking to the apartment lady. I've talked to her about 3 times now. She and I were going to speak again. I'm going to be honest with you. I think a lot of those people in that back neighborhood are just going to complain no matter what goes there. There's a representative here tonight, and he's here to tell you how horrible it's going to be, and I can't fight that. What I can offer you guys is a very sound, sensible, community-oriented project that will be safe for the neighborhood. It'll clean up that homeless that's over there. It'll clean up all the graffiti and all the stuff that's going on there. And, we're willing to fund and try and start to solve that traffic problem back there, which isn't really our problem or even the neighborhood's problem. It's a bunch of kids being shipped in from out of the area to a charter school, jamming up the roadways. And, it's a problem for the neighborhood, and it's a problem for us, and we're trying to do something to solve that. So we're willing to put in the traffic light to start to do that. My thought with the neighborhood is I would like to work with them to see how we can continue to work together to solve that traffic problem, whatever it may be. We're willing to start with the traffic light, but I think that, my opinion, just to come up and just complain that they don't want anything there, they can't really do that. It's private property, it's zoned right. Something has to go there. So we're offering a service that's basically open daytime hours and isn't going to be going all night, and it's a clean, sustainable, environmentally friendly business because we use a lot of recycling and environmentally friendly products. We're a very community oriented type business. I own 2 car washes up in the South Bay that do a lot of good work and a lot of community outreach, and so that's the position of my group. That's where we're trying to come at it. So if it's going to be public opinion, honest truth is, I don't know if I can get enough yay-sayers to come down here. I'm sure Mr. Covington can drum up a bunch of people to come down here and complain against it. I don't think that's really going to solve the problem as far as not having any development on that community, on that block, on that square. So I'm trying to come with something that I think will be viable and safe. And as we said, we've reoriented the driveway to really make the adjustments. So I think all the major concerns were the traffic going back into Marbury, and that's pretty much been eliminated now. I mean, 99%. Save that one little bailout for emergency. On my slides, I really don't have a lot to, Ali kind of went through everything. We'll revise some of the aesthetics of the building, but essentially it's pretty good. I enlarged the rocket, by the way, so it's a lot bigger now. With that, I would like invite you guys to ask the questions of my experts I brought here. I have brought the traffic study, Mr. Gibson. I brought the architect. Brought the guy that did the sound. So that's kind of where we're at. That's.
Cynthia.
I'd like to know, as Commissioner Mendoza, I'd like to know what are your hours during the week and the weekends?
Okay, so we would like to go. I would like to go like 7:30 to 7, but we're willing to go like probably 8 to 7. I know you and I last time you'd asked me if I was willing to make an adjustment to the hours of operation, and we are willing to do something. I think 8 to 7 is reasonable. That's usually what most car wash. In fact, most car washes are 7 to 7, but we're willing to go 8 to 7 and give up that hour in the morning, even though we're not really impacting that corner anymore. So it's our customers are coming in off a different way, and it's totally internal and circular. It has nothing. It won't affect the school traffic at all.
And how about the weekends?
So the weekends would be the same thing. It'd just be 8 to 7, 7 days a week.
Beatrice.
And how long will the project take to be completed?
We could probably build it in about 6 months. And what we were trying to do is have the traffic light construction coincide with the car wash construction so that we could, have it done at the same time. That was the plan. I can tell you from building car washes, the things don't always go to plan. There's usually some setbacks. But our architect, Leon, who's here tonight, he's very well versed in designing car washes. That's all he does. So we have very good contractors that are car wash specific contractors.
I'm trying to visualize that 3-point turn they're going to make at the end to come back out. What is that, or is there enough space to do that?
Oh yeah, we actually opened it up, and in fact we nipped 2 parking spots at the end just to allow for that. It's actually a pretty common design now in car washes and express car washes where they have an internal circulation. In fact, our first design was kind of out of the ordinary. This is much more along the lines of what normal car washes would do. And in answer to your question about the number of vacuum stalls, it's anywhere between like 18 to 25 usually. So I think we're right in the middle there. But you're easily able to make a 3-point turn there and come back around. And some customers will just, if there's nobody behind them, in reality they'll just back straight up and then just go out. They'll just do a 2-point turn.
I have a question for the staff. I drive a lot from Bristol and 17th to Tustin and 17th, my kids' school, and then where I shop, grocery shop. I can't think of any other car washes other than the one on Baker. Is there any others that?
There's one around the corner on Tustin Avenue, up just past the dance, just past the Benji's. So it's heading.
Yeah, that's
17th, and you turn left.
On the east side of the street,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's-
That's 2000 block of North Tustin.
Yeah, the Tustin Speedy Clean. In fact, that car wash owner was here the last time. He obviously was opposed to my car wash.
There's also a car wash
On Main, the one on Main, you already said that.
No, the one on Main and 17th. Yeah, that's
No,
right
there's a
there.
Main
There's
and
Main and,
over by the 99 cents.
Yeah, that's a friend of mine that owns that car wash at Main and 17th, and that just got remodeled, and he's
Main and 17th is also a car wash on the corner of 4th and Tustin Avenue.
yeah. There's one in about a 1 mile radius, which is about our catch. So once they start encroaching in on the 1 mile radius, the one on Tustin is just under a 1 mile radius. He mostly serves those guys up there, but he's a competitor. He's not going to want to see me going there, and he's going to come up here and tell you guys it's a bad idea. And it's funny enough because his setbacks and all his stuff behind him is all apartment buildings, actually a little bit closer than where we're at. So he's got the exact same sort of layout, and obviously he can wash cars and it's great, but for us it's all of a sudden a big problem. And so it's kind of the nature of the business. It's very competitive. You'll find that other car wash owners will get involved. They'll make donations in and around town to get people to come out and complain, and I'm just telling you guys how it is, So
Any other questions? And the one thing that didn't come out, Ali, really, I think was part of the other concern was the noise. I mean, I think there was obviously discussion about traffic. Sure, there was discussion about where it was going to come in and where it was going to go out.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that the apartment buildings are right behind that.
So
And there was discussion about the fact that those had just been newly renovated and that they were, very, very close. And you've got, there's another car wash on Tustin Avenue up around Meat and down by the Trader Joe's up towards the mall there that just came in. Same concept you've got, almost identical. It's from the street to the back, but behind that there's a church. It's an open space. It's an area that's not occupied 24/7 with residents.
Yeah, 100%. And speaking to that, so we've oriented our blower, which is facing 17th Street, and the blower that we're using is something designed by AeroDry Corporation. They are super quiet. So I have one in my Redondo car wash. So I could stand and have a conversation with this young lady, just like this, standing right under my blower. I kid you not, they're that quiet. When I was in Redondo Beach, I have apartment buildings, condos, expensive beach condos that are literally 98 feet from my blower, and I had to sound test and make sure that the dB level was below a 45 decibel interior window noise level. Do you know how low that is? That's like super low. And I passed it with those blowers and all the soundproof technology. This car wash, it's set much farther away from those apartments. There's this block wall, and the only thing that those apartments are going to hear, they're not even going to tell the blowers are on. I mean, they're going to hear a car door once in a while close from when someone's done vacuuming. That's all they'll hear. Even in spite of that, I had discussed with that apartment gal, I said, if you're that concerned about it, I don't want to, you guys to ruin your investment. We're happy to, we'll help you get some double pane windows in there for your tenants if you'd like. She didn't really say anything about it, but I was willing to offer, even though I know I don't need it. I mean, you guys can condition it and make a sound test before we open. I guarantee you it'll pass. Below that. So the sound just isn't going to be an issue. We're one of the only ones using that system. It's a patented system made by AeroDry. They're totally different than all the other blowers. I mean, they're really quiet. If any of you have any concerns, you're welcome to come up to my car wash in Redondo Beach if you want to make the drive, and I'll show you the exact same blower we're going to use. And if I can't stand and do what I said and have a conversation with you while the blower is on and the car's going underneath, you can deny the project. That's how sure I am it'll pass.
I say we take a field trip.
I'm pleased. I welcome it, and I'll show you the setbacks of what I had to deal with up there. It was. I mean, those people, they came out. What Mr. Covington and his little group was doing is nothing compared to what Redondo Beach threw at me, and I still got it through. And I got it through on the merit. And they independently sound tested it from a whole nother sound. The city hired a complete acoustical firm out of San Francisco just to make double sure, and it passed independently.
Any other questions of Chris? Okay, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, at this point in time, is there anyone in the public that would like to comment on this item? I have one card, Winston Covington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Commissioners, City staff. Again, my name is Winston Covington, and I have been the chairman of the Portola Park Neighborhood Association now since 1995. I lived a stone's throw from this proposal for 8 years, right on the corner of Mayberry and 19th. I'm very well aware of the traffic flow, the parking problems, the traffic safety, the impact of 1,000 children coming into a fundamental school. There used to be a sleepy little school for special needs children. There's now a fundamental school with kids coming from all across the city, most of which are driven in by their family. So we've got some pretty big impacts, not only in the morning when they want to open, but also in the afternoon, and tons of activity in between. We moved. We left. I had a little girl, 4 years old. My wife was scared to death. Literally, she'd be in tears seeing the craziness of what would happen with the traffic flow coming and going. We now live in a cul-de-sac in the area because we love the neighborhood. But we have discussed this project several times at our neighborhood association, and we have tried to be as polite as possible and consistent with the fact that we don't support it. And the bottom line is the safety of the children going to the school and the safety of the community. I have no problem with somebody wanting to make a buck with their property, but to do so in a safe manner that'll benefit the community is the key. This came before the commission last October. It was voted down 4-0. The neighbors appreciated and respected your opinion, your cooperation. I brought a couple letters here today. One is from a long-term resident that has lived there on Mayberry, the main drag, the main entrance to John Muir Fundamental there at 17th and Mayberry for over 50 years. I want to give this to your secretary, your clerk. I also have a letter from the Senate Unified School District dated in January of 2016, having some issues and concerns about the project as well. I just left another stack of letters for you as well. I see that the applicant has made some changes, but still yet the impact to the traffic and to the safety, and I invite you to come take a look any day you want. You'll see what I mean. To me and to the neighbors in the community, that's like lighting the fuse on a time bomb. Not a matter of if there's going to be an accident and a problem, it's just when. We welcome the opportunity to meet with the applicant to discuss other projects, but this project at this location is unsafe. We will not support it. We're concerned for the safety of the children, the schools, and the neighborhood, and we're happy to meet with them on another project that makes sense. I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Winston.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, what would be an acceptable project for those neighborhoods?
You know, I've thought about that myself, Commissioner. I don't really have a personal answer to that. It was a furniture store for like 40, 50 years. I would just say bring it to the table. The neighbors will be more than happy to sit down. We want to see something come there as well. But again, it has to be a project that's going to be safe for the community. So we're open to talk to them.
So the community believes a car wash would not be safe.
Absolutely, positively. In fact, one of our residents who isn't here tonight, because we got kind of short notice about the meeting, did a survey, and it was overwhelmingly 94, 95% in a survey against the project. We've had several meetings. Each and every time we've explained our concerns, but it seems to have fallen on deaf ears. Again, our motivation is safety. That's what we're all about. And this project, with the impact it would make into that area, that bottleneck, that flow of traffic with that many kids, it's a disaster waiting to happen.
Thank you.
Lynette?
So the building that there is today is dilapidated.
It is.
Every year that we go by, it gets worse and worse. It's in disrepair.
It is.
And this has been going on since 16. So I understand. I voted against the project because I didn't think that the egress onto Mayberry was a good option because of the traffic issue. And but I do like the new rendition. We're putting it out. We're putting everything ingress and egress on 17th, which was the neighborhood's concern about the Mayberry exit. But the neighborhood still continues to talk about safety for the children. But now it's been moved on to 17th. So I'm trying to grasp where you're backing up the.
I understand that.
And then secondly, if since 16. What has the neighborhood done to try to, work with the city and community development to get another viable, approved, business in that location? Are we just going to? If we don't approve it in 5 years, are we still going to be looking at this old, disrepaired, uninhabitable furniture store? I'm very much. I understand, but I'm also, I need to balance here where we're talking about, viable businesses coming into the city and doing business and being a win-win. What is it that you guys going doing to see something else there, and instead of just saying no, how are we going to be confident that any other project's going to be the same thing? Because you're going to say it's safety. If Starbucks wants to do a drive-through, and you're going to have more cars coming through the drive-through than you have a car wash. I'm so concerned about noise. I'm so concerned about the apartments having to deal with the noise of the actual car wash. But we've got to get to a place somewhere where we agree that we're going to have to do something in that location, and the neighborhood's going to not have to, but we'd like to be a win-win. What are you bringing to? What is the neighborhood association bringing to the table, in order for us to feel confident that if we don't support this, that we're not looking at that same furniture, old dilapidated furniture store, and worried about squatters and police activity and homelessness in maybe next year. So that's my questions.
Okay, good questions. First of which, I agree with most of what you said, but not everything. Okay? You asked me a couple different questions. We're talking about the impact maybe being cut back because the entrance now is off of 17th. But as they showed in their illustration, when they exit, they have to exit back onto 17 going west. That corner is right there where Mayberry is. That's the main entrance and exit for John Muir. Granted, a light would help, but there's still going to be a tremendous impact there. Secondly, what have we done to embrace another proposal? There has been no other proposals brought to us other than this. I'm in the business myself. I welcome an opportunity for someone to put their property to good use, but it comes back to safety first. We're never going to walk away from that ever so important primary concern. Is let's have a project that's going to be safe for the children, safe for the school, safe for the community, and we'll welcome any other business opportunity to sit down and talk with them to see if we can make it work. That's the main entrance to the neighborhood. That's an eyesore. That puts property values down and causes problems for the city and the police. We would love to see something of quality that will fit the needs of the neighborhood that will be a safe project. So we would embrace it. I don't have a direct answer to what business would we like to see, but we will welcome the opportunity to sit down and come to the table with a positive spirit of cooperation.
Eric.
Thank you. In terms of businesses, we'll just talk about general businesses, not a specific project.
Okay.
But would a furniture store be? Would that work?
It was there for many years.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. Would a restaurant work?
Yes.
Would a restaurant with a drive-through work?
I would have to talk to the neighbors about that and see what it would all entail.
I think what Commissioner Verena was getting at was that what has the community done proactively? It sounds like they're sitting on their heels waiting for a project to come. I don't expect you to do business development, but if you're going to be against everything that comes, I think you're going to have a hard time. And if the sole criterion is safety, it's going to be in whose eyes is it safe? It seems to me that creating that change to get the cars onto 17th, while not ideal, keeps the cars off Mayberry, which was the key concern I heard when I was there. So I'm just trying to appreciate it. If there's a light there and you're gonna, unless everybody's going right, I could see the concern, or a lot of people, but if they're going straight, then it's gonna be less of an impact. It may not ameliorate it totally, but it will.
The intersection is 6 lanes wide. It'd be real tough to go left. Different times of the day, workable, but prime time, tough to go left going east on 17th out of that exit. West would be the natural flow. West leads you right into that intersection, the main entrance to the school.
Okay, yeah, sure.
But as of right now, you have Fantastic,
Yes.
Wendy's, and the bank all making that left turn. I've made it several times. It is doable. Thank God I've not been hit. But I use common sense. And as drivers, we have to use common sense. And so I have children. I completely understand about having our children in the best, safest environment. But even though that can be, accidents still happen. So, I mean, for me, they've come back and they're investing even more so, more money. I believe the district, when they were here as well, mentioned it was that they would prefer a light be there. They've gone back, they're gonna put a light. From nothing to something, it's gotta help. And they're completely closing off any kind of exiting or entering from Mayberry and the driveway. Because I heard that too, they didn't like that, and I completely agree, people that live there and so forth. So I think for us, we just see someone coming into the city trying their hardest and investing even more so to make your community safer. So that's just kind of where we're at. I'm glad we're having this discussion here today, and that you're here so that we can listen as well. But yeah, I just see a whole lot of improvement, and I don't know, maybe I'll just take myself to Redondo Beach to listen, but if noise is the last thing that is of our concern, then we need to look into that. But thank you for coming tonight.
Absolutely. I just want to conclude with saying that, on a personal note, knowing the neighbors as well as I do after being chairman for 23 years, I can tell you again that we are motivated by safety and quality of life of our neighborhood. Motivation for a profit is understood, but more than anything, I'm here to represent my neighborhood to make sure it stays as safe as possible for everyone, from the children on down to the residents that have been there 50 years. And that position will be the same each and every time this comes before the commission. And there's only me here today, but I can tell you that there is strong support of this not going through. Thank you.
Thank you, Winston. Okay. As a wrap up, are there any other comments at this point in time on this project? Any other feedback? Okay. Hearing none, we'll close the work session. Thank you, Ally, for taking care of that. Okay, moving on to comments. Staff comments.
Just two quick projects I want to update you on. One, we're working on annexation for the property at 17th and Tustin, that 25-acre county island that we tried about almost 15 years ago to annex. So now we're moving forward. The city manager's asked us to go ahead and move forward with the annexation on that one. So there'll be a neighborhood meeting on August 28th to talk with the neighbors out there who live in that area and the business owners about the annexation process and try to educate them on the steps. You'll be seeing some actions before you, probably September, late September, early October at the latest on this whole annexation. We'll be doing some pre-zoning, pre-general plan identification of the properties that are out there to get them aligned with the city's zoning and general plan as opposed to the counties.
Okay.
So that's one. The number two, a project starting to come out of the ground is the Willowick golf course. I don't know if you're aware, but about almost a year ago, the city council met with the city council Garden Grove for a joint meeting, and they agreed to kind of work together on some kind of a reuse plan, redevelopment of the Willowick golf course. And so we've got a couple of consultants on board, paid for by Garden Grove and Santa Ana, a visioning consultant and an economic consultant. And the first public outreach meeting for the visioning is going to be on August 30th. And we're not sure of location just yet, either Salgado or at the Goodwill Industries property. So you may be hearing about those more coming out in the next several weeks and trying to create a vision for the redevelopment of the Willowick project. And that's all I have for now. I believe you have the other item to be covered here at the end. So thank you.
Anybody else from staff?
Vernier, good evening. Just filling in for Candida this evening. Just while I'm here, I just wanted to report out the status of the general plan update is still underway. I wanted to let the commission know that we, as staff, the comprehensive planning team released a second executive summary as part of our general plan advisory group efforts. Special thanks to Commissioner Beatrice Mendoza and Commissioner Nguyen, both part of that team. This effort this document summarized the efforts of their 1 year of participation. And on July 17th, we presented our core values and vision statement to the City Council with some positive feedback. Last week at National Night Out, we did share with the community as our commitment to continued outreach with the neighborhoods took place at Madison Park. So that's all I have for now. I'm excited to come back to the Planning Commission, share with you the proposed land use corridors once we have them a bit more detailed with our land use consultant. Thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner comments. We'll start with you, Ken.
No, I have no comment.
Okay. Beatrice?
It's my anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
2 years, and I'm loving it.
Okay. Happy anniversary. Cynthia.
I wasn't here the last meeting, but I want to welcome Mr. Roman Reyna to our Planning Commission, and then thank you, and I look forward to working with all of you again. Thank you.
Eric?
I want to congratulate Mark and Cynthia to be chairperson and vice chairperson respectively. Congratulations, B. I did not know it was your 2-year anniversary. And welcome, Roman. I think tonight I saw that he has a lot of local knowledge that'll be very helpful on the commission.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep.
Lynette?
Ditto to what Eric just said. All of it.
Okay.
Welcome, Roman.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Roman?
Small comment. First day of school back. So we're talking about traffic and we're talking about kids getting back to school. First day at Santa Ana. So be aware of the route you take and driving safely.
Okay. And I want to thank my fellow commissioners for re-election to the chair. I appreciate that. Thanks. And congratulations to you, Cynthia. Also, would like to make note that Escalette this is her last planning session. She is going to the bright city of Lincoln, California.
Lincoln?
Where is that?
Where's Lincoln?
Sacramento, it's got to be.
Sacramento, right?
Yeah.
So congratulations. Friday's your last day. Okay. Good luck. And remember us in Sacramento.
A lot of rain in there.
Making big in the city.
With that, the meeting of this evening is adjourned to our next meeting on August 27th.
That's correct. And 2525, Magnolia will be the primary item on that agenda.
I know I just said the meeting's adjourned, but I gotta ask one quick question if we can. Is there anything that we can do besides the normal 3-minute type situation when it comes to the public comments? Because I'm sure that we're gonna have a bundle.
You have the right to ask them if they want to consolidate. They're going to all talk about the same concerns. But this is also on the EIR, so we kind of want to let anybody speak that wants to speak.
Okay.
Should it be specific though to the EIR? Because I know there's, reasons why they don't want, but is this public comment in particular to the EIR?
Yeah, great question.
Get off based on that.
We're going to have a 2-part meeting on that night. The first part's going to be receive comments on the EIR. So yes, you can focus them on any comments, the EIR. You can also remind them that those comments are fine, but we need them in writing by the 20th, the last day of the comment period. So just because they say something here, they still have the right to give us comments in writing by the 20th. So after the comment period for the EIR is done on the 27th, we're going to go into a work study session where you'll get to preview the project and get feedback on what changes you'd like to see to make it a better project. So we'll get you out like you did last week. We'll get those plans out in advance. You have over the weekend to look them over and get to be able to kind of absorb them and then come back with us with some direction and comments on the project. So yeah, so we can keep it focused.
Okay. Thank you. He's adjourned. Thank you.
And then one with the chair.
Hey, Commissioner. How are you?
Yes.
Same here.